person, Stephanie Bast. Actually, she calls herself Von Bast, but her other relatives are named Bast, so I guess that's a stage name she's using. Well, when I found her Facebook friends list, I quickly recognized two individuals on it. One of them, her aunt, which you see here, and her brother, Jason, who is the Fort Hood shooter, if you're familiar with my previous work and investigations.
No, Crosset just said that.
Attention! Seek shelter immediately. Close doors and windows. Shut off heating. Ventilation and air conditioning.
Did you see any blood? Nope, just like the Giffords. It was a drill. Now, Jason has more than one connection between all these people. He's a Dave Weiss friend and on his Dave Weiss Facebook friends list. And if you're unaware of what that means, Dave Weiss was the person that I found all the Gabrielle Giffords actors in his Facebook friends list. And then come to find out, just recently I found all the SEAL Team 6 members on his friends list. And let's not forget he also played G. Michael the Mole. Get it? The Mole? The main doctor for Gabrielle Giffords? Right. He contacted me, as I mentioned in the last video, and he threatened me with a lawsuit. Well, when I exposed the fact to him that some of his friends from the SEAL team that are supposedly dead now, you remember the SEAL team were the ones that killed bin Laden, are actually wanting to talk, and then one did talk, and I told him about the fact that I know what he did and what his involvement was. He quickly removed all his photographs and pulled his information and blocked me, but I got around that. Let's go back to Stephanie's page again. Now, we see her and her brothers, and we know her brother on the right is the Fort Hood shooter. The brother on the left, though, we've seen him before as well, more recent.
There's a new report from Natural News. It's also up at Infowars.com. Health Department tyrants raid local farm to fork picnic dinner. And it's a local co-op where people produce their own sheep, their own cattle, their own farm-raised vegetables. And then they all get together, maybe 100 of them or so, around a big, long picnic table out under the stars in southern Nevada. And you'll see some video of it coming up, shot by the photographer that was there to take photos for the co-op. And it's up on his YouTube channel if you want to watch the whole thing. But the state shows up enforcing their state and federal regulations and explain to them that you're not allowed to butcher your own food and eat it.
This would be like somebody coming into my house and telling me that I can't serve the tomatoes that I just picked out of my bag.
Now, in addition to this obvious one, Stephanie's brother, there's some other people that are at this health food raid that we need to look at. Then we'll go back to Stephanie's account and take a look at the other people.
This is our life, and you can't eat food that's grown out of the ground. It's got to be contaminated and polluted and poisoned and then stamped. Oh, and then pay $20 for it. That's not good enough.
Bad, but, I'm looking forward to moving on with my life, at this point. My son's in New York visiting his father now, maybe.
Apartment, so that they could look the other way like they do so many other times, so that we can eat food fresh off the farm. I think it's very sad, and I don't think anyone should have the right to come into someone's personal property and tell them what they can and can't serve to their friends, or to their family, or to their animals. who can dictate pour bleach on your meat because it's not good enough for your pig? So all these animals were slaughtered, and friends and family can't enjoy it. Oh, but we can go down to the store and pay $20 for some mutated meat from Monsanto. That's really nice.
Yep.
Episode of Leap, my dad says, and I said, really? My God, that'd be amazing. And then a week later, he said, yeah, you got it. And I was like, yay! I'm so excited because I'm a big fan of the show. I think the show's terrific, and the writers are amazing, and the cast is.
Free your breath, free your mind. Free your breath, free your breath, free your mind.
Free your breath, free your mind.
Before, ever incarnated. But you haven't been anywhere in the physical universe ever before. You are absolutely new here.
Correct, yeah. I entered the time-space matrix, that's a good word, half an hour before I was born. When I first came in and I became aware that I was in time-space, there was certain things I wasn't sure about. One of them was whereabouts in the shift I was. Was it before, during, or after the shift? I didn't know. And the other one was, which timeline am I in? How severe is it? What's going on in this timeline? I didn't know either. And I found out when I was 3, and I wanted out. I honestly didn't think I would be able to do it.
At the age of 3?
Yeah.
And you remember this totally clearly now, looking back?
Oh, I've never forgotten it. It used to be a point of humor in my family, How many 3-year-olds do have a nervous breakdown when they find there's war still going on in the planet?
This is the actor that played one of Tom Green's wives, the convicted polygamist.
Right for the USDA to let us all kill ourselves eating McDonald's, but this good wholesome stuff isn't alright. But that's such a terrible thing. We gotta do something about it.
What should we do?
Well,
that they would use Tom Green because the fact that the same actor that played Tom Green for the polygamy thing plays another actor in the Avalon Project.
Declassified U.S. government documents.
Just simply look at the ears. There's no doubt.
And witness testimony from former or retired U.S. military personnel confirm beyond any doubt the reality of ongoing UFO incursions at nuclear weapons sites.
That's not all this actor plays. He plays a couple more roles too. You might know him better as Richard Katzgar, Bureau Chief of Pima County Sheriff's Office.
And witness testimony from former or retired U.S.
And it's based on a photo that many people saw. That individual identified himself to
ongoing UFO incursions at nuclear weapons sites. When I said
explainable in the pictures that we have, and there's nothing to
disc-shaped or cylindrical shape.
And let's not forget Dave Sanders from Columbine, the teacher that was killed. On the tribute site, they have a photograph which is of him and his supposed wife. Well, she looks an awful lot like the actor that plays Tom Green's one of his multiple wives. So, Dave Sanders, Tom Green, Richard Katzgar, all the same actor. Mainstream media tells us that this is Warren Jeff's son. Now, what I'm typically finding out is that just as in any other job, if you're a freelancer or a contractor and you have friends that have the ability to do that type of job, well, you're going to, of course, tell your friends about that work and see if you can get them a gig too. So you're seeing the same group of actors being used in multiple unrelated events or in the same type of event, just in different scenes. But we can see that there definitely is a pattern of the actors and their friends working together. And then just as we saw the Tom Green character, and possibly that is his daughter that is working with him on that gig. And we know that he played in the Columbine incident. Well, we can see that also in the Columbine incident, other individuals that have been linked to him, like this one. Now when we look at Craig Scott, we notice some unique things, unique features of his face. His philtrum is crooked, and we notice when we flip this image, we can see that he now matches it. And also if we look at Craig's hair, it looks like they tried to change the part from one side to the other, and that's what's causing his hair to be messed up, because his hair won't part naturally that way. So when we flip that image, and remember, we're dealing with people that are trying to hide their identity, so they'll incorporate the simple effects of just flipping an image to hide their identity before they'll go into the extreme end of using special effects. So is it a coincidence then that we see Greer in the same scene now? And Greer also plays in the Disclosure Project with some of the other actors that are in this film? I don't think so. I think it's the same group of actors just being used for different events, and they think they can get away with it by just changing their appearance a little.
For not a valid reason for a certificate.
And we're intersecting the flight path of these B-52s.
Because we're here, but because it's good quality food.
And he has documented his placement at these facilities at the time that these events occurred.
So while we're here talking about the Disclosure Project, we might as well talk about a few other people that are involved in that project that are fakes as well. Keep in mind I previously exposed Carol Rosen for Annie Lloyd Backhand. What a name. And in her photographs, that's where I found information on Luke Rudowski and the Rebecca Joy character, the actor that plays Gabrielle Giffords. Now the new Gabrielle Giffords, of course, is played by an APEC employee, as you see here. Here are additional actors that play in the Avalon and the Disclosure Project that might surprise you.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Sheehan. I'm an attorney and serving as general counsel to the Disclosure Project. I'm a 1967 graduate of Harvard College in American Government Studies and Constitutional Law, and a graduate of Harvard Law School. And I served as general counsel and one of the co-counsel for the New York Times in the Pentagon Papers case, and was involved in briefing and arguing the case in front of the United States Supreme Court, giving permission to the New York Times to publish the classified documents, the 47 volumes of the Pentagon Papers.
I want you to disregard all of the opposing counsel has said.
I've noticed on several of Jim Traficant's testimony in front of Congress, you can notice there's a color bleed along his edge of his body, typically seen when there's a green screen being used. And you notice around the head, the top, you can see there's a green discoloration, just a slight little bit. It's a bleed of the green. And you also see on the side of his face here that you'll see there's a very large spot that's tone is green. This is typical of someone who doesn't go back and color correct the image that they've set up in front of a green screen.
I think they're delusionary. I think they've had something funny for lunch in their meal. I think they should be handcuffed to a chain link fence, flogged, and all of their hearsay evidence should be thrown the hell out. And if they lie again, I'm going to go over and kick them in the crotch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Traficant. Mr. Lewis?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
All right, here's where we are.
And on March 24th, 1967, I was on duty at what we called Oscar Flight. It is a underground capsule, hardened site, about 60 feet underground. We had security guards topside. The main guard is called a flight security controller. My commander at the time was...
December, you became aware of Fast and Furious.
I said...
I was on duty at what we called Oscar Flight. It is a...
After the death of Agent Terry, yes.
Okay. And the details you became aware of basically after our investigation began, putting those
feet underground. We had security guards topside. The main guard is called a flight security controller. My commander...
Now, Isa was in the Army, but if we take a look at the photograph that they say is Colonel Hall, you can tell his ears are very particular. Plus, if we take a look at the name badge above his pocket, it is been photoshopped. That is not a correct looking letters. The fonts. Under close examination of this photograph, we can tell that there's been a layer added to it. The name has been covered up and the new name has been put in. The name that would be underneath it would be Isa, and we can tell that the designer now put in Halt. Of course, keeping true to the naming convention that they like to use, the play on words, Halt in the military. So if we look at the letters, we can tell that the increased perspective from one end to the other changes, but the outside edge of the box does not change. So this artist was not very skilled at what they were doing and thought that the letters would increase in size as they got closer to you. Well, if this were the case of that perspective, then so would the box around it. Now take a look at this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Clifford Stone. I was Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I had a secret clearance with nuclear surety. I could get the clearance that I needed to do whatever it was that was necessary for me to do at the time on special operations when I was called in on those.
You sure about that, Cliff? Because I think I've seen you somewhere else. In fact, I know I have. September 11th.
It's in both those towers and floors that got hit. I can't get through.
Now watch as this actor can't even remember his lines and has to refer to a cheat sheet that he has.
He was there only 6 months ago. My office is now in Midtown.
What company?
Marsh McLennan, Marsh Inc., Mercer Consulting Group, and William M. Mercer, Putnam and Guy Carpenter occupy all floors in that range there that looks like that got hit.
Everyone knows about the Harley guy, so I'll just play the clip and I won't go into it that much.
Rick Leventhal was in downtown Manhattan when the buildings came down and has an update for us from Lower Manhattan. Rick?
Well, John, we're on Church Street at Reed Street, for those of you familiar with Lower Manhattan, just a few blocks away from World Trade. Still thick black smoke billowing from the scene where both towers collapsed. Again, just a few blocks away from us. We were standing out here on Church Street when both towers came tumbling down, and each time there was a huge cloud of smoke and debris that came roaring down this street, and everyone literally ran for their lives. At this point, the police have been efforting to establish a perimeter. They're trying to keep people back and make sure that no one interferes with their job, which is to try and secure the area and then get inside that World Trade Center rubble to see whether or not they can locate any survivors who may have been inside the building or just outside the building when it came tumbling down. We want to bring in Mark Walsh, who's a freelancer for Fox. You live just a few blocks away and witnessed.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building which is 5 blocks from the World Trade Center itself. I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
People talk about how it looked like a movie. I know when I came walking down here early this morning and saw both towers on fire and people on every street corner, it was like a movie, but you watched the planes hit the towers.
I was watching with my roommate. It was approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit. I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just scream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Obviously, there were a lot of people inside the buildings at the time.
2 guys from the 7th precinct, the 1st precinct, the fire department right here, the 7th truck, those guys are all right there at ground zero when those things went down. And God bless, I know there's a lot of guys there that were around there, and hopefully they made it out.
Did you notice how he said the word out? Out. Like Canadian accent? And remember, a lot of these individuals are from Canada. Ian Greenberg owns the largest network in Canada. We're seeing the connection between Canada again and again and again with agents and actors and provocateurs. Now, you'll notice Rick Leventhal, again, this is the same scene as before in the beginning of this film where we showed you the other individual that he asked what role was he playing. And now again they're talking about movies and they're talking about sets. Clue in to what they're talking about.
what was happening around you in the streets around you as this was all going down?
Absolute pandemonium. From my viewpoint up 43 floors, I could see people running like ants, just absolutely scurrying for their lives. Billows of smoke coming through the streets.